Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Friday Live, this Friday, October the 24th, 2025. A big warm welcome to you all. It's Fiona Lukis here, live on Facebook and YouTube. Obviously, every Friday I go live answering any questions that you have about relationships, life, human beings, anything and everything in between. And, this is an opportunity for you to find out or explore the work that I do a little more deeply if you're curious about it. So as always, please feel free to say hi. Let me know where you're listening from in the comments below. And if you've got a question, pop it in the comments as well. I've had a couple of interesting questions this week, that I think a number of you will relate to. So I will get stuck into those pretty quickly. But like I said, feel free to say hi. I always like to know where people are listening from. And if you're listening on YouTube, which I'm a little newer to these days, hi, welcome aboard. So, hey, Lisa. Hi, honey. Welcome. Thanks for saying hi, darling. Really appreciate it. Hey, Deezer. Hi. Nice to see you, Deezer. Hey, Penny. Thanks for saying hi, everybody. I've had a couple of questions come through this week actually, before I go there, the first thing I want to say is, hi, Michelle. You're in South Australia. You're in Hindmarsh Island, Penny. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, cool. The first thing I want to say before I answer the questions is it was my wedding anniversary on Wednesday, and because I'd been away the Wednesday before, I didn't run the live call with my Relatable students. So I after a little bit of cajoling, I convinced my husband, who's never done this before. He ran the call with me. He did a Q&A. It was awesome, actually. He did so well. We sat down and everyone on the call was able to ask him questions based on, obviously the things that I'm teaching. And am I really speaking the truth? Is it really true that our relationship is the way that I say it is? And, my husband is not one to, he's not one to, thanks, Michelle. Wednesday call was amazing. Sam is a legend. I was pretty proud of him, actually. It is not his what's the word that I would say? It was right out of his comfort zone to do that. But he sat on the call and he was there with us pretty much like the whole way through. I was really impressed. I said that to him. I said, thank you, darling. I think it was really great for everyone to be able to meet you and ask you questions. So I've been running the Relatable program since October. So we're now at 5 years basically, and he's never done that before. So this was an absolute first. So it was very cool. I'm very proud of you. Thank you for that, honey. I think it was great for everybody. So yeah, we ran our first Q&A together. I don't know if you'll ever do it again, but he actually enjoyed it. And you guys were, those of you who are on the call, you were fantastic. You asked some really great questions, and I think we had a really great conversation. So anyway, big thank you to my hubby, Sam, for doing that, especially on our wedding anniversary. What a way to celebrate. But we actually had a blast. So thank you, everyone. So what I wanted to get into today is because I've had a couple of questions come through about this week, which is really interesting. And as you know, I'm always drawing on what I think would be good for the greater good. So the questions that I've had this week have been about, what happens when we lose our spark? What does that mean? Or if we're feeling bored in our relationship, what does that mean? And what does that look like? So because I've had a couple of questions around the same thing, I thought, this would actually be a really good topic to talk about, because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding or misconceptions out there on what it means when we've lost our spark, what it means when we feel bored, and just boredom in general. So I want to challenge the thinking that we have around that and have a different type of conversation. Hi, Craig. Thanks for saying hi. Really appreciate it. Good morning to you, Craig. So a couple of the conversations that have come through have been around feeling bored and the spark being gone. So this question, well, these are the two questions that I had, and I went, oh, they're kind of very similar. So I want to speak about this. So the first one was, Hi, Fiona. My husband and I have just discovered you, and we found everything you're sharing so helpful. It's such a refreshing change to a lot of the things out there online. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. We've been together 15 years, and honestly, we both feel a little bored. We're kind of bored with each other, bored where we're going, and we love each other, but yeah, it's just feeling a little flat. Is this normal, or is this a sign that we're done? So, fantastic question. And I think something that a lot of people out there can relate to. And the other question that I got, so I'm going to read both questions out because I'm going to answer them both in the same answer. So the other question that I have here is, hi, Fiona. Thank you so much for doing these Friday lives. I absolutely love them. I don't always get to attend live, but I always watch the recording. Okay, cool. Thank you. I think, hang on. I think for me, my question is around what happens when the spark is gone. I feel like it's gone between my wife and I. It feels like we're just going through the motions. Can that spark come back, or are we kidding ourselves? Okay, so both really great questions, and I feel like I've read them out together because the answer that I'm going to provide here will, I think, answer both questions at once. So it's really interesting, I think, as human beings. So let's talk about boredom for a second. I think as human beings, we tend to relate to boredom as a sign of we need to mix things up out here. We need to change things out here. We need to do something different out here. So, and what I mean by out here is just change things around in our lives, whether it be a situation, whether it be interests, hobbies, whether it be where we live, our job, partners, that kind of thing. It looks like when we're feeling bored, the natural inclination people have is to kind of look at their life out here and go, what do I need to change up? What do I need to do differently? What do I need to get rid of? That kind of a thing. And whilst that may well be part of the answer, I think there's a space that we have to go to first. I always find it really interesting when people are bored or people say that they're bored. I always find that really interesting because in my mind, when my mind is present, when I am feeling connected to all there is, I am never bored. Never. I could be sitting in my chair looking out the window when I'm connected and present to all there is, and boredom is the last thing on my mind. What I experience is feeling moved by life. I feel touched by the things around me. I feel impacted. I feel grateful. I feel curious. Like it's a completely different experience. And so I wanted to kind of point that out because I think for many of us, we misunderstand what boredom is telling us. It looks like if I'm bored, I need to mix it up out here. And whilst I said before that may be part of the answer, before you go mixing stuff out there, I think you've got to look in a different direction first. If you're someone whose mind is busy a lot, if you are thinking, and when I say thinking, I mean analyzing things, if you're in your intellectual mind, what tends to happen is you are not as present as you could be. Your mind is going very fast. Now, when our minds move very fast, we are not present to what is. We are not as moved by life. We are not as impacted by life. It's almost like our minds are like this heat-searching missile looking for the next hit. It's like looking for the next hit, the next dopamine hit, the next thing, the next, right? And we're very easily distracted. Now, if your mind is going really fast and you're someone who's easily distracted, and I appreciate there are a lot of people with ADHD might be listening to this and go, yeah, that's me. And look, I have a very strong understanding of ADHD. I have a father with ADHD, a sibling with ADHD, a couple of kids. I get it. that's not necessarily what I'm referring to. You can still be present to life if you do have ADHD. You can still be moved by things. But if you do have ADHD, obviously what I'm saying is very much applies to you. So I just want to point that out and saying it doesn't mean that you can't access what I'm pointing to, right? It's just having a different awareness of things. So everything, if we want to create change around anything, it always starts with awareness. Awareness is the first step, the first key, the first everything that you need. Without awareness, you've got nothing. Okay. You don't have the capacity to choose. You don't have the gift of choice. So the first thing is, when you're bored, there's a very strong chance that your mind is going at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And when our minds are going very fast, we're looking for a constant hit. And so we're out here, we're always like searching. I'll do this. I'll go out here. I'll go here. I'll exercise here. I'll do this. We're looking for the next moment of satisfaction, right? Now, the problem with short hits of satisfaction, it's kind of like carbs. You have these sugar spikes and these energy spikes, and you kind of feel okay for a bit, but then you need your next hit, right? It's almost like, think of it like this. I think of satisfaction like carbs and fulfillment like protein, right? Protein keeps us full for a longer period of time, and we don't need the hit. And so when we're experiencing fulfillment, we are not bored. There is nothing boring about fulfillment, right? It's this deep, deep, deep sense of peace, calm, knowing, connection to all there is, comfortability in our own skin. Like, it's an incredible feeling, right? It's a depth of connection that, when you haven't experienced it before or for a long time, I don't think I pronounced that very well, that when you do experience it, it's like, oh, this is what I've been looking for. I didn't know that's what I was looking for, but this is what I've been looking for. And I've kind of been looking in the wrong place for it. So a lot of people who feel bored are bored because their minds are going at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And when your mind is going at 1,000,000 miles an hour, you are not present to what is. You are not moved by life, and you constantly need hits. So it's like hits of satisfaction or dopamine hits that fill you up for a bit, like carbs do, but then fade quickly. And then you do the next one and the next one and the next one. And when you're not having that, you feel bored, because you're not having that high, that feeling, that sense of excitement, because you've now become addicted to creating that excitement out here. But the problem with that is it only lasts for a short period of time, and then you constantly need to top yourself up, okay? And so I often find that people who are bored have a very, very busy mind, and they may not even realize how busy it is, because they've become so used to it, so immune to it. It's become their normal. Right. And sometimes it's not until we're having a different experience of something that we're like, wow, my mind is going so fast. I had no idea. So that's the first thing. Boredom is generally a sign of a busy mind, because when our mind slows down, when we are present to the now, there is nothing boring about life. Life is fascinating, and there's a sense of wonder and curiosity. You only need to look at a child to see that. Children are very present. Their minds are full of curiosity and wonder. They look at ordinary things and they're like, wow, right? There's this feeling of amazement at the miracles in life. So if you are someone who is feeling bored, that's the first place I'd be looking at, right? And again, these are things that we talk about in my Relatable program. That everything that I teach there would absolutely help you navigate that within yourself if that's what you're experiencing. And so, I think we underestimate the impact of what a busy mind has or does, the impact of what a busy mind does on us as human beings, on our capacity to access fulfillment, to access a deeper feeling around life, to feel this deep-seated sense of calm, peace, gratitude, wonder. That feeling, when you're feeling it, is the most incredible feeling, and there is nothing to be bought off there. And the other thing I want to say is, just talking about looking at the topic of boredom. A lot of people say, I'm bored with my partner. Now, what I would say is, if you're bored with your partner, one of the reasons you're bored with your partner is because you have stopped being curious. You've reached that point where you think you know everything there is to know, right? And this is very common in longer term relationships. People think they know everything there is to know about their partner. And so what they're operating out of is a very limited understanding of that person, right? True. This is very important. They don't realize it. It's a very innocent thing. But, when you've stopped being curious about your partner, you're operating out of a very old story. Okay, because here's the thing about human beings. We are brand new in each moment. We are. I know that's going to sound a bit challenging to some of you listening to this, but we are brand new in each moment. And we're brand new because we're having fresh thinking, fresh experiences. Our experience is constantly changing, right? But it's very hard for us to see that when we're looking at something through old, stale, entrenched thinking. And I see this a lot with people. They're relating to each other through very old, stale, entrenched thinking. And so the boredom is not necessarily a sign that your relationship is done. It's a sign that you need to change your relationship with your thinking. And it's not until we do that we get to see what's on offer, right? There's so many causes of conflict and differences and lack of connection in relationships come from a place of people thinking they know everything there is to know. And so as soon as something happens, they're like, oh, I know why you did that. That's because you are X. Or I know what that happened. That's because you don't do Y. Or I know why that happened because your personality type is this, right? And we land. And when we land somewhere, there's no curiosity and we think we know. And when we come from that place, we're in our ego, we generally have pretty stale, old, toxic thinking. And it takes us to a place of feeling and experience where there is no curiosity, there's no lightheartedness, there's no playfulness, there's just this endpoint. And it's generally a place of disappointment, frustration, judgment, things that don't really move the needle in terms of you guys feeling excited to be with one another, looking forward to seeing one another, and having a different experience of one another. I shared with my relatable students yesterday that I had to take my dog to the groomer. And I had just picked him up. So I was driving home from picking him up from the groomer. And my husband is a gardener. He's got this like kind of small tip truck thing that he drives around in. And I was about 5 minutes from home and I saw what I looked like his truck. And I couldn't believe it. Well, not that I couldn't believe it, but I just loved the fact that my chest caught and I went, oh, is that Sam? And I got really excited. I got butterflies in my stomach. And then as he drove closer, I could see that it was. So I wound down the window. We're waving at each other. And he said, oh, that's really made my day to see you, honey, in the middle of the day. And I said, me too. And so do I still have butterflies when I think of seeing my husband at the end of the day or bumping into him unexpectedly? Absolutely. And we've been together 22 years. So this whole story that's out there that, well, the honeymoon period goes and it's inevitable that things plateau and, it's typical that relationships become stale. That's what happens. That narrative that's out there, that's a really comfortable, easy narrative because, we can kind of justify ourselves, but that is not the truth. And what I mean by the truth, I mean, this is not true for everybody. Something is only true if it applies to everybody, right? And it certainly doesn't apply to us. I don't ever feel bored with my husband. I still feel excited to see him. I still get butterflies in my stomach, and that's not going to change. Now, I know it's not going to change. And the reason I know that is because I get to see my husband with fresh eyes all the time. I do. I get to see my husband with fresh eyes all the time. There is a sense of curiosity that I have. There's a sense of a deep sense of connection, but it comes because I know when I've got old stale thinking, and this is just not something that I engage with anymore. Like, I have a completely different way of navigating my thinking. I've got a different lens, and it's hard to imagine until you're in the experience of that lens. But boredom, no. The spark going, no. Now, in saying that, I can understand why people have that experience and it looks like the spark is gone and it looks like they're bored, right? I completely understand that, because what we've been taught about where fulfillment comes from, what we've been taught about relationships, right? There's so much misinformation out there that leads people down a pathway where all they're doing is going, yeah, well, it's been 15 years, or it's been 20 years, or it's been 25 years, or it's been 10 years, or it's been 7 years, whatever, make up whatever number you like, right? And this is what happens in long-term relationships. You go through the honeymoon phase, and then, people stop really trying, and it kind of flatlines for a bit, and, you're just not as into each other. And I'm like, no. That, like, if that's the narrative and you believe that narrative, then that's what you will be in the creation of. I do not believe that narrative for 1 second, right? That is, you can create that narrative if you want, but really I need you to know that that's optional, and it is not, what's the word? It's not, God, my brain, there's a word and I've lost it. But basically what I'm saying, it's not set in stone, right? That is optional. You don't have to do that, right? You don't have to do that at all. You can do something else. And this, to me, is what keeps the excitement with each other alive, keeps things fresh, and means that, yes, even after all this time, my husband and I still get really excited when we see each other. And that will not ever change. I know it won't, because I have a way of seeing or meeting life. I have a way of navigating my thinking. I have a way of accessing the present moment of now in a way that I never had access to before, which keeps me in a state of mind of curiosity, openness, looking at my husband through a fresh lens all the time. So just because you've known someone for a long time and you think you know everything there is to know, I want you to know that you can never get to a point of knowing everything there is to know. There is no end point with a person, because people are constantly evolving, growing, and changing. And when you look at life through that lens and you deeply see it, you see that person next to you very differently to the way you would previously. And that opens up a whole new world of relating, loving, connecting. That is awesome. It's exciting. It keeps things fresh. It keeps things alive. I don't need to go out and find someone new to access that feeling. See, that's a big misunderstanding out there. That if I want to access that feeling again, I have to meet someone new. Now, of course, I think meeting someone new, there's lots of butterflies, and that is an exciting time. There's no doubt about it. But I really want you to know that you don't need to change partners in order to access that, right? You really don't. Hi, Nathan. Thanks for saying hi. Always so lovely to see you, Nathan. Deezer, there is so much truth to this. Every moment holds something new when we allow it. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love the fact that I have access to that understanding, and I'm able to experience that with my husband. Lisa, yes, because I see myself as new in every moment. I must see my partner as new. I give him the space to be different than I expect. Awesome. That's so cool. Yeah, drop all the stories of who you think they are. Because I'm telling you, right? That is not who someone is. Who you think someone is not who someone is. Who you think you are is not who you are. If you're sitting there going, what is she talking about? Like I said, these are some of the things that we cover inside of my Relatable program. And, when you see the truth of what I'm talking about, whole new worlds get opened up. It's like a whole new frontier of living, relating, connecting, being with one another. It's a whole new frontier. And that's exciting. It's super, super exciting. So let me know if anyone's got any questions about what I've been sharing. If this makes sense, if perhaps it's having you think in a different way, or if you're like, Fiona, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I would love to get some feedback on what I've been sharing. And if you've just joined us, feel free to watch the replay. I'm talking about what happens, or another way of relating, when it looks like we're bored in a relationship, or bored with each other, or bored in our lives, or it feels like the spark is gone. And it's like, what does that mean? Does that mean our relationship is over? Does that mean we can't get it back? I'm addressing those things in this live, because I know many people have had that feeling. Many people obviously, especially in a long-term relationship, can have that feeling and then think, wow, potentially we've got another 20 years together, or 30 years together, or 10 years together. And it's like, is this it? Is this as good as it gets? Now, I've certainly been in a relationship many years ago where that was a very big question for me. Is this as good as it gets? Like, it was a question that was going around and around and around in my head. And, there's certainly merit in that question for sure. And I think there's a deeper understanding required first before you can actually truly answer that question. And the deeper understanding is everything I've been talking about in this live so far. So if this is something that you're curious about, or you'd like to understand more, like I said, this is very much what we talk about in my Relatable program. And I think when you see this, when you actually see what I'm pointing to, you get access to a completely different experience of each other. And to me, that is super, super, super cool. So I'm just going to share the link to my Relatable page here. If you want to find out more about the program, if you'd like to join us, or you've got a question, there's the link there where you can check that out. But yeah, so anyone got any feedback for me about that at all? Any questions? Because it's certainly going to be a very different answer to what some of you may be expecting about what it means to be bored and when the spark goes. And, I think if you were talking about this or looking at this from a different understanding, someone might say to you, well, why don't you go and get a hobby, or why don't you and your partner try new things together, and why don't you do this and why don't you do that? And whilst I say there is merit in those things, if you don't deal with what I'm pointing to first, those things won't go the different distance. Those things won't cut the mustard. And then the reason why is because your thinking will always get in the way. As it does. It will always get in the way. And if you can't see that, if you don't have an understanding about that, it will look like we've tried all these things and nothing's changed, because you've got to understand, between you and your experience of someone is your thinking about them. That's the bridge. And it is an invisible bridge. It's a bridge that we don't see in terms of how it operates and how it works, and we get caught up in this is just the way things look, right? This is just the way things are. And it's like it is life-changing when you see it, because it opens up a whole new world to you, opens up choices that you never had access to before. All right, everybody. Well, I hope that has answered those questions. The question of, what does it mean when the spark's gone? We're feeling bored. I'm bored. Does that mean our relationship has run its course? These are questions that I know many of you can relate to. So if you've just joined the live, please go back and listen to the recording. If you do have a question that you'd like me to answer, please send it to hello@fionalukis.com.au and I will answer it for you. And if you'd like to know about my Relatable program, which is where we have these conversations, where we look in this direction, where you can develop a whole new and deeper understanding of how you see the world, how you relate to your thinking, so you can access that fresh perspective, that fresh state of mind, fresh thinking with your partner and the people in your life. That's exactly that, and many other things are what we cover in Relatable. All right, everybody, it has been a pleasure spending this time with you. Thanks for saying hi. And if you're watching the recording and you've got questions or anything that you want to know in terms of what I've shared about or the Relatable program, pop them in the link below and I will answer them for you. All right, everyone, take care. Hey, Lynn, thank you so much. I so appreciate you. Thank you, honey. You take care, everyone. See you next week. Ciao. Thanks, Lisa.